Good morning everyone, Jordan here from Artisan Electrics. Welcome back my fellow artisans, and today we've got an EV charging job in store for you. And a bit of an interesting one really, because it's now 10 to 7 and I'm heading over to a place called Colchester, which is a little bit out of my zone usually, over in Essex. But it's a customer who's found me on YouTube and liked my work and asked me to do an install for them. And I'm getting more and more of these now actually. Lots of people contacting me through YouTube asking me to do their EV charging installs because of the videos that I've put out. So I've got, coming up this month, I'm pretty much only doing electric vehicle charging for the rest of the month. I've got so many jobs coming, and some of them are all over the country, so I'm going to be travelling all over the place. Customers who are willing to pay a bit extra to cover my travelling time and happy for me to go out and do their jobs. So today's a Zappy installation, and I'm going to show you around, show you the job. As always, if you enjoy my videos, hit a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because I do post regular videos here about electric vehicle charging and the life of an electrician. And if you hit the notification bell, then you won't miss out. Let's get into it. So we have arrived in Colchester, and here we are. We've got our black tethered Zappy ready to go in, and it's just going to be going on the wall here. It's actually a very similar installation to my own house installation, which is quite funny. So I'm going to mount the Zappy on the wall here, run the cable down along behind the downpipe there, around along this corner, and then about here it's going to go through at an angle and come out underneath the stairs, and I'll show you inside. So here's the understairs cupboard, and what we've got is basically down there we're going to drill through at an angle, and then that will come out on the other side of the wall as I showed you, and then we're going to clip the cable along here, probably along the skirting, run it up next to this gas meter. I'm going to put a new little Hager consumer unit on the wall just there, and then going to put a Henley block in for the tails and basically spur off there into the new Hager consumer unit. It is a 6-way consumer unit that I've got because the customer wanted some extra spare ways for future expansion, but I'm only going to be using one circuit, basically just a single 40 amp MCB for the charger only. So should be a fairly straightforward little installation. Things have been done quite nicely here, well, mostly anyway. So we've got a nice gas bond already, that's already done. Been nicely labelled as well, which is good to see. We've got a water bond as well going through the wall and over to the water pipe, the main incoming water pipe. The main switch here, main isolator, which is 100 amp. We've got 100 amp main supply fuse as well, so that's good. It's a TNS system, and we've got a very nice sweated main earthing conductor, which does have a label. We've got this earthing through connection here, and then the main earthing terminal there, so everything's in pretty good nick really. This is the consumer unit for the house, and in terms of existing loads, we've not got a huge amount to worry about, which is good. There is obviously an electric cooker, sockets throughout the house. It's just a sort of standard 3-bedroom semi type house, so it's not huge. We've got various socket circuits. Customer's an IT guy, so he's got his IT rack over here, which is we're going to be plugging the hub into that, so that will be good. And basically dual RCD board. We're not really going to touch this at all because there's no spare non-RCD ways, but it's good to calculate the loads and just find out what the loads are in the installation. We will be using the load limiting function on the Zappy, so that essentially it's impossible for us to overload the main fuse with the charger. So if for some reason they do have a lot of power being consumed in the house at a certain moment while they're charging the vehicle, the Zappy will actually automatically ramp the power down and stop it from overloading the main fuse. So what I'm going to do is start mounting the Zappy on the other side. run the cable back to here, and then I'll come inside and do all of this. Right, so I'm just going to mount the charger in the middle of this wall here at sort of a reasonable height that will make it easy to unholster the cable, so about that height. And what I've done is I've got my laser level to just line up the holes so that I can make sure that we've got a nice level charger. And essentially it's very easy to mount these. We've just got 5 fixing holes. You actually only use 4 of them, but usually I drill out all 5 anyway, just in case. And then we put the plugs in, get the screws in, mounted on the wall. Right, so this is the fun part when I try to basically get my drill out at the right angle through that corner there without damaging anything else. This rack is kind of built into place, so I can't really move this. So I'm going to have to just sort of drill through here and see where we come out. So, fantastic, right between the courses. Couldn't really have asked for more, to be honest. Very happy with where that's come out. So all we need to do now is open that up a bit bigger so that we can fit the 6mm armour through, and then we just clip the cable straight along the wall here, along a little loop behind that downpipe there, along, and then straight up into the zappy. Job's a good one. Okay, so I've got my big drill through now. That's come through in exactly the same place as well, so very happy with that. So I can take that drill out, slide the cable through and start clipping it up. Getting on really well so far. The cable is now in now, as you can see. I've run that in with the LINIAN super clips, which I absolutely love because they're really neat and super quick and easy to fit. So I've just clipped them fairly close spacings just so that the cable's really nice and secure. I have gone in a mortar in this one because the cable came out through the middle of the mortar, but they're absolutely solid as a rock in the mortar. They're not going anywhere, so that's absolutely fine. And as you can see, it just makes quite a nice neat line to go along in the next to the mortar joint. I think it looks neater that way. And then a nice little neat bend around here behind the back of the downpipe, and then a sweeping bend up gently into the bottom of the charger. So I've got the cable here ready to go. That's all glanded off with an outdoor armoured gland. What I'm going to do is just identify these by putting some tape on. I've still not managed to get any coloured sleeving that's kind of a good size for 6mm armoured. Let me know if you've got any ideas about that in the comments. But yeah, we're just going to identify them with a bit of coloured insulation tape and then connect them into the supply terminals. It looks like it's going to start raining any second, so I want to just get this cover on, and then that's all the outdoor work done. And then on the inside, the cable's there ready to terminate, but I just need to start mounting up this distribution board. So I've got this Hager 6-way, it's a VML 106, I believe, yeah, VML 106, Hager 6-way consumer unit. It's basically just got a main switch and 6 usable ways. So I've got 5 blanks and a 40 amp MCB, and that just means that for the sake of, you know, basically a few quid extra, the customer's got a lot of spare ways for future expansion if they need it. So for example, if they needed to add a second vehicle charger in the future, we could do that. If they wanted to add some other circuits for various things, like if they wanted to convert this garage, for example, then that would be possible. So it just makes sense to add a bit of spare capacity, as the main consumer unit was full and we couldn't use that. Now a lot of you ask me in via Instagram, for example. In fact, if you don't follow me on Instagram yet, go over to Instagram and follow me. But a lot of you ask me questions about quoting for these kind of jobs and how do I go about it, you know, because people seem a bit confused about how to quote for these kind of jobs. And so today's video is sponsored by TRADIFY, and TRADIFY is a massive help when it comes to quoting for these kind of jobs. TRADIFY is a job management software for tradesmen like electricians, and basically it's an online platform where you can do all your quoting, you can do your invoicing, you can receive your inquiries, etc. And where it helps in these kind of jobs is that you can make kits. So I make a standard kit for all the materials that I usually use for a Zappi installation, for example. So the 6mm cable, the super clips, the glands, all of that goes in a kit. And that kit is ready to just drop straight into a quote on TRADIFY. And then I can just adjust the quantities, adjust the number of hours I think the job's going to take, and very, very quickly it enables me to get a quote done in order to accurately estimate how much it's going to cost to install one of these. And through TRADIFY you can email it straight over to the customer. If the customer wants, they can accept the quote through TRADIFY as well, which is really nice. So everything's manageable within TRADIFY, which I just absolutely love. There's a link in the description where you can get 50% off for your first 3 months with TRADIFY. So head over to that link, check out TRADIFY, give it a go. It's really worth a try if you're a tradesman and you want to just level up your admin side of things a little bit, get a bit more organised and save yourself some evenings where you'd usually just be faffing around in the office. TRADIFY will save you a bit of time. So today's tool of the day is this crimping tool by Nipx. Absolutely brilliant. So it's for doing ferrules. As you can see, I've got my little set of ferrules here. It's a little bit mixed up because I, of course, dropped it, as is a classic annoying thing that happens sometimes. But basically, I'm going to put ferrules on here. These are 6mm conductors, and that's a requirement according to the manufacturer's instructions. And it is in a lot of electric vehicle charging points, actually. So you need to be careful to check the instructions. A lot of electricians might not necessarily use ferrules on these kind of conductors because they're not what we call fine stranded. They are kind of more solid 7 strands, but actually it helps to just put a ferrule on anyway, just to protect the strands of the conductors, and it looks neater as well, in my opinion. I've got another channel, a YouTube channel called Tools #4 Sparks, Tools for Sparks, and I've done a review of this on that channel, and I did like a tool battle between this one, which costs about 120 quid, and another set which only costs 20 quid, and it was quite an interesting little tool battle. So I'll leave a link up here somewhere where you can have a look at that video, but head over to my Tools for Sparks channel and watch that, because I think you'll find it quite interesting. If you want to get a set of these, I'll leave a link in the description where you can get one on Amazon. Right, so we're all in on this side roughly. I've put the cover on, but I've not finished inside there because I've not tested and stuff. But I just wanted to do that just in case it rains. Cable all in and clipped back. I've just got to sweep up the dust here, obviously. But now I'm going to go inside and start putting up the DB on the inside. So that's where the cable comes in. So I'm going to clip it along this wooden skirting here, just along and then up into the DB, which is going to get mounted on here. I've got this Hager board to put up, so that should just fit nice and neatly on there, and enough space to get the tails in. Put a Henley block on here somewhere, and then spur into those tails. We've got a main isolator switch, so that's great. It means we can turn everything off and it'll be safe for us to work on. So I'm just going to get everything prepped, and then I can keep the time that the power is off to a minimum, because I don't want to interrupt the customer if they're working from home or on the internet. I'm just going to put the cat amongst the pigeons here a little bit and talk about doing armoured glands with grips or water pump pliers, because I get a lot of comments from people saying you should never terminate armoured glands with water pump pliers, you should use an adjustable spanner or proper spanners that are the right size. And to be honest, I can understand why they say that, because when you slip with these, it does kind of damage the brass a little bit on the gland. So I do get it, but I've just never got around to actually getting myself the right set of adjustable spanner or spanners that you need for these. Let me know in the comments, how do you do it? Do you use these, or do you use a proper adjustable spanner or set size spanners? And if so, what size do you use? Because I would like to get myself an adjustable spanner or the right spanners to do these, because I'm doing a lot of armoured glands, to be honest, especially for the EV charging stuff. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think. Right, so I've got the cable, armoured cable, terminated in there, and that's ready to connect in, but I'm not going to connect it into the terminals yet until I've actually done my testing. So I need to do my R1 and R2 test, and I need to do my insulation resistance test on the cable before I actually connect it in at this end. I've still got the tails to terminate, so what I'm going to do here is take the tails along here, along the top of that board, to this Henley block, loop up around and under and into the bottom of the Henley block there, and then I've got to cut the tails that are going to this consumer unit, take them out of the bottom of this main switch here, and put them into the Henley block. And then I've got a new set of tails here, which I've already put into the Henley block, which will loop up and into the bottom of that main switch, so that everything will work as it should. But I'm going to do my testing on the charger first, and then just leave the bit where I need to turn the power off to right at the end. The good thing is that this light is actually powered from a UPS, because the customer's got all his computer gear here, so I will still have light in this cupboard even when the power's off, which is great. I've put the Harvey here, so that is the device that basically sends measures using this current transformer, this CT clamp. It measures the power consumption of the whole installation, and then it sends a wireless signal to the Zappy to tell the Zappy how much power is being consumed by the whole installation. And if it's, for example, like 90 amps being consumed by the house, then it will ramp the Zappy down to avoid the Zappy overloading the whole installation and blowing the main fuse. So to test R1 and R2, all I'm going to do is use my crocodile clip here to just crocodile these two conductors together, like so. I know some people use those little what do you call it, from Q-Tech, the little link wires. I just never got around to getting myself some, but crocodile clip does the trick. Clamp those together and then measure at the charging point. And there we go, we've got a nice low reading, 0.07, which is perfectly adequate. So now I'm going to do insulation resistance testing, and to do that I'm going to disconnect it from this end because there are sensitive electronics within the charger which could be damaged. So I'll just pop these out for a sec, and then I will do an insulation test across all these conductors, but I've got to remove the link at the other end first. So just for the sake of the learners out there, an insulation resistance test is basically to measure the resistance of the insulation of the cables to make sure that there are no compromises of the integrity of the cables. So imagine if within the cable it had been hit by a nail and it might have shorted out between two conductors. You're measuring to make sure that there's no connection between the individual conductors within the cable, basically. So what I did just then is I've just connected line and neutral together and then measured to the CPC, and I've got a high reading greater than 500 mega ohms, which is a mega ohm is 1,000 ohms, so 500,000 ohms, very high. That's what we're looking for. So both line and neutral to CPC are high, and then I'll just measure between line and neutral as well, and that's again greater than 500, so that's perfect. So that means our cable is intact, we've got earth continuity over to here, so that's absolutely brilliant. And now we can connect this back in, seal the unit up, and then connect everything, liven it up at the other end. So lunch and a coffee, and I just wanted to chat to you about something, because a lot of people ask me, is it worth it to get into the EV charging game? Like, is there any money in it? Is there much work out there? Is it worth it to go through all the hassle of getting on the course and getting the qualifications and learning how to do it? And I throw back a question, which is this: is it worth not doing it? Because if you look at the next 10 to 15 years, every single house is going to need an electric vehicle charging point. So if you're an electrician, it's a bit like you saying, I'm not going to do consumer unit replacements. Every house has a consumer unit, and that's a massive market. How many houses are there in the UK? Well, and that market is about to double, because every single house in the UK is going to need an electric vehicle charging point at some point in the future. That's the way it's going. We've reached a tipping point now, or we're about to reach a tipping point, and the number of inquiries that I'm getting for electric vehicle charging at the moment is just absolutely insane. I'm getting more inquiries for EV charging jobs than I am for any other type of electrical work. So doesn't that tell you something? So is it worth getting into EV charging? I just ask you this: is it worth not? Can you afford to miss out on the opportunity that is opening up? That's the question I'll leave you with. And to be honest, I love these jobs. I really enjoy them. I feel satisfied knowing that I'm helping to transition the world towards sustainable energy. You know, renewable electricity is the way things are going. And by the way, there's a link in the description of this video for Bulb, who provide 100% renewable energy, both electricity and gas. And if you sign up to them, you can probably save quite a lot on your energy bills, and you can get 50 quid credit to your bill if you sign up using my link in the description. So check out Bulb, they're a really good energy firm. But renewable energy and electric vehicles is the future. Battery storage, solar, all of these things are going to grow exponentially over the next few years. And by getting into it now, you're setting yourself up for a huge amount of work in the future. So I would say you can't afford to miss out on that. We're just about done. Here is the Zappy, all powered up and ready to go. Quite happy with the installation. It's gone really nice and neat, as you can see, with the cable going in really neatly. And let me show you the other end. I'll show you the finished product with the board. So here we have the new consumer unit that we've installed. And as you can see, just got the one circuit in there, just an MCB for the charging point. Obviously the cable's clip direct and it's an armoured cable, so it doesn't need RCD protection for the cable itself. Got the tails neatly clipped across here into the Henley block, and then I've just cut the old tails for this old consumer unit and put those into the Henley block as well, and then run these new tails into the bottom of the main isolator for the installation. I've upgraded the main earth block here to a 10-way or an 8-way one from a 4-way because there wasn't space to fit my extra earth cable for my new consumer unit. Obviously I've done all the relevant tests and everything, and the Harvey unit is there, which is measuring the load basically of the installation and how much the house is using in terms of power and how much the electric vehicle charger is using. So all good. Now in terms of features of this charging point, for those of you who haven't seen me install one of these before, the reason I install pretty much 90% of my chargers that I install as Zappies is because of the functionality that they have in terms of safety. So they've got an inbuilt pen fault detection device, and what that means is that if there's a fault on the supplier's pen conductor, which is quite a big problem if you've got an electric vehicle that's outside and you're charging it and you're touching it, in case of that fault, this thing will cut out the power to the vehicle and stop anyone from being electrocuted. Now, the only other charger that has that same function is the Anderson charger, I believe. PodPoint claimed to have it, but I'm not sure I really trust their technology. The Zappy has the best technology out there in terms of pen fault detection, and it means that you don't need to install an earth rod. You don't need to install a MATI device or something like that, which is basically a separate pen fault detection device, because it's built into the charger. Also, we've got built into this Type A RCD protection with 6 milliamp DC protection, so that fulfills all the requirements for electric vehicle charging in terms of RCD protection for the vehicle as well. And it works great with solar, it works great just on a day-to-day basis for any vehicle. So my customer here has got a Tesla Model 3 arriving very soon, lucky chap, and he's going to be able to juice his car up and do all the driving he needs with his Zappy. As always, if you enjoy my videos, hit a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss out. I'll see you on the next one.